Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the third quarter steering committee meeting for Blueprint Schools. We will get started in just a moment. Thank you.
Mr. Washington, can you assign us as interpreters, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our third quarter Blueprint Schools steering committee meeting. We will turn it over to get started.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the third quarter Blueprint Schools Steering Committee meeting. I'm sorry, Jason, in Chair Hawkins' absence, who calls the meeting to order?
It would be Dr. Golson.
Okay, thanks a lot. Dr. Golson, would you please call this meeting to order?
Yeah, thank you. The third quarter meeting of the Blueprint Schools Program Steering Committee is called to order.
Thank you, Dr. Golson. I will now go over the logistics of this meeting. To access Spanish interpretation, click the globe at the bottom of your screen. There will be ASL interpretation simultaneously occurring during the committee meeting. The Q&A function of the webinar is disabled, so please don't try to ask a question. If you have a question, please submit it on the website at www.pgcps.blueprintschools.com. Finally, if you have signed up for public comment, you will be called on in the order in which you signed up. We will now go through roll call. Please respond present when I announce your name. Prince George's County Public Schools Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Monica Golson.
Present.
Chief of Staff to DCAO for Health, Human Services, and Education, Erica Berry Wilson.
Present.
Dr. Golson, I will now pass it over to you.
And Erica, Chair Hawkins has joined. He's joining by phone.
Okay.
Yes, I'm present.
Welcome, Chair Hawkins. Thank you.
Yes,
I
I'm present.
will now pass it over to you, Mr. Chair, to proceed with the approval of minutes from the April 7th meeting.
May I receive a motion for approval of the May 7th meetings? I am on the cell phone. Dr. Golson, could you continue to chair because the noise in the background is challenging for me to hear?
I sure can. I will make a motion. Sure. I make a motion to approve the April 7th meeting minutes. Need a second and then a confirmation.
Second.
Second. Move. Second and confirmed. It was second by Chair Hawkins. Thank you. I also make a motion to approve the October 13th agenda, which is today's agenda.
Second.
I'm gonna say Erica Berry Wilson second now. Because they both said it at the same time. So we can move forward. So based on the agenda at this time, if we could get a report from the director.
Greetings, steering committee members and designees, as well as members of the public. I'm Jason Washington, director of the now newly named Office of Alternative Infrastructure Planning and Development, the office that's responsible for direct management implementation of the Blueprint Schools program. Over the past 6 months, since we last convened. The Blueprint Schools program has achieved quite a few milestones that have continued our positive momentum. These milestones include advancing designs from schematic to development designs of each of the schools that allowed for engagement with school-based personnel and community stakeholders, also known as the project planning committees. We have successfully vacated and moved 3 school communities into swing space, Hyattsville Middle School, Adelphi Elementary School, and Drew Freeman Middle School. We have continued with our community outreach through town halls and community engagement. We have advanced, fully mobilized on all 6 sites and begun construction activities. Gilbane Building Company has launched the Blueprint Schools Mentor Protege Program. And to date, we have procured over $29 million from MBE firms, which is a robust opening to our program. Out of the over 60 million spent, which is great momentum, but we continue to move forward and are excited about the path forward. As we move forward, I really wanted to be clear about our responsibility to deliver excellent school facilities. Our Prince George's County Public School students simply cannot wait any longer for us to follow through on this. As it relates to community engagement to begin and community investments, particularly, one of the things that drew us to Prince George's County Education and Community Partners was their commitment to community investment. And that has been seen, as I mentioned before, through our first set of MBE numbers. To go a little bit more into depth, over $60 million have been procured to date by the development team. Of that, 29.9 has been procured from MBEs. 3.9 has been procured from CBBs, making our total MBE participation to date, based on the dollars spent, 49.6%. The combined participation of both MBE and CBB is 55.1%, which our metric at the end of this project is 30%. But as Gilbane and Fingate have made clear to us, their goal is to exceed it. And so we are excited about this work and what they've done. It's proven out in their engagement thus far and their outreach. And they are continuing to work hard to work with us and to work with other local MBEs to participate if possible. I also want to highlight the fact that this is not just, a one-time deal with Gilbane. As I mentioned before, the launching of the Mentor Protege program, which is an 8-week program. There are currently 15 local businesses engaged in the Mentor Protege program, which is a combination of Gilbane's national platform. And Mr. Mike Ricketts is here should you have any questions about that to provide further information. But it's also a time where we can talk about specificity and specifically around opportunities with PGCPS and within the county. Because of this framework, it has led to collaboration with capital programs as well as supply, purchasing and supply services division to start looking at what are opportunities for us to create procurement opportunities for these businesses to participate and to become full participants and welcomed into PGCPS to provide valuable services that we need and that we procure daily. And it's really around trying to identify what those opportunities are. And we're continuing to do so. And the directors of both of those departments have been partners in trying to identify those opportunities. As I mentioned before, as it relates to design, we issued our second notice to proceed to the development team in late August. to now move to advanced designs to 95% construction documents. This is an incredible milestone for the program. The designs have moved forward. We provided feedback, and part of that design process required us to have mandatory referral with park and planning, and we received approvals from all of for all 6 schools. And so now we're in the final push to finalize designs. By the end of the year is when we expect to receive the 95%, and plan to hopefully finalize the construction documents soon thereafter. As it relates to community outreach, we have definitely been engaged in all of the communities. But I specifically want to say that, this has not been without pushback, and this has not been without frustration from some residents based upon, the school's construction activities, and the failure of notice in some cases that the communities have felt, specifically the Tantalum community. They have continued to voice their concerns really around, the holistic infrastructure systems around the school, and the proposed site of the school, and how the infrastructure will work to address significant concerns that the community has. And so because of their engagement and activity and activism under the leadership of Council Chair Hawkins and County Executive also Brooks, they have created a monthly infrastructure working group where we've met once. We will meet again in a couple of weeks, where they are able to hear about the county's approach to infrastructure, not just about the school, but in totality, how this all is going to work together, the timeline around it, et cetera. And so this is, how we have helped, we believe, of being responsive and participating where called upon to help solve hopefully some significant problems for the community, and working in collaboration with the county to do so. Finally, as it relates to construction, as I said before, we mobilized on all 6 sites, which basically brings to bear the 2 biggest risks we have in construction: site conditions and the weather. We have continued to update site designs. We are in constant contact with the builder, Gilbane Building Company, as well as Fingate as part of the development team, and wanted to highlight a couple of issues that have happened on the sites that we are working to address. At both the Southern K-8 site and Walker Mill, there will be a process known as surcharging, which is bringing on additional fill onto the site to settle the foundation. These are processes where we're just letting gravity work to settle. This was determined through geotechnical examination to ensure the stability of the buildings. That process has begun at Walker Mill and will soon commence at Southern. There could be, and quite possibly will be, impact on schedule. We don't know exactly what that looks like now, but we promise that as we move forward, that we will communicate what that looks like as we continue to refine the schedule. But we have been apprised that there could be negative impact on the schedule. None of that right now is impacting the delivery of the schools in summer of 2023. But it's prudent that we just alert and we make it clear these are some of the initial issues. And as I said before, Mr. Ricketts is here should there be any questions around that. And then at the final is at Kenmore. We are moving forward with adding stability piles to the back of the school, and that's just to stabilize the foundation. And so that is, once again, determined to ensure that the schools have the appropriate foundations and the bearings to ensure that we are delivering safe schools and functioning, highly functioning schools as we go forward. And then finally, I can say that, you know, we have really moved forward and mobilized on the sites. I can say that our engagement with the communities, particularly those that we've had to demolish the schools, has been almost a psychological hurdle that a lot of communities went over, specifically like Hyattsville, seeing the school actually start to be demolished, really, you know, brought out like some excitement about what's coming. We recognize that there's a lot more work that needs to be done. And we are excited about it. And so I'm joined by Brandy McDonald, as well as Mike Ricketts, to address any questions or anything that the steering committee would like to know additional information about.
Thank you. So I actually have a question. I'm not sure if Chair Hawkins or Ms. Barry Wilson have any questions, but my first one is, we've heard about the construction and labor shortage that exists in the region. Are we experiencing any of those issues related to labor and construction? And do we anticipate, if there are any shortages, for it to impact the delivery of school timeframe?
And I will see if, there you go.
There we go. So there are labor and material shortages throughout the region. We have our finger on the pulse of that. As issues arrive, we are, you know, creating workarounds. So far, we haven't had any impacts on our delivery of the schools, but this unfortunately, the pandemic is not behind us. It wasn't a singular event, and it is something that every day we learn something new and are impacted in a different way and have to shift. So it would be misleading to say that there's no potential out there for an impact. The only thing I can say is that so far our impacts have, in terms of labor, we've been able to mitigate. And we're too early in the process to understand if we're going to have any material impacts. I will say that on other projects in the region, there have been there have been impacts for steel, for PVC piping, roofing material, and roof insulation, as well as wall insulation. We think we're ahead of the curve on those items, though. So hopefully that answers your question, sort of.
It did. I just, and I appreciate your candor around it. I just want to make sure we keep it in the forefront, you know, as we're looking at our quarterly meetings, just staying in front of it. So if we foresee that we're going to have a problem, we are well aware of it and we're able to communicate that to our community. Thank you. It did answer. I had another question, but I wanted to give Hawkins or Barrett Wilson an opportunity before I ask the next one.
So question is around the MBE numbers. For first, congratulations on some wonderful MBE procurement numbers, MBE and CBE. I congratulate both Mr. Washington and Mr. Ricketts and the Gilbane team on obtaining those numbers. One of the things, this is a two-parter. So one of the things, I know we talked about the MBE numbers and the percentage. Do we have an idea of the MBE procurement dollars? What percent of that is county-based MBE?
We can, we as part of the monthly report that we have, it is as part of that and built in, and I can just pull that and make sure that I send it. I would say that it is still fairly significant, because I am almost certain, and Mr. Ricketts can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe most of the initial MBE participation that we've had have been from local MBEs.
Okay, that's great. And then as far as kind of keeping this pace, do you have any worries, concerns about that? Are there any trends that we should be mindful of as we move forward through the construction process?
So I don't think that that we will keep this pace of MBE awards. I think that the goal of the 30% MBE was a good goal, and it's something that we felt we could achieve. I think the early numbers are going to be higher because we really are pushing hard to make sure those awards happen. But as certain trades come on board, like elevators, there's no MBE or local MBE, CBB type of business for an elevator package. So we're not going to get the participation there. So there's going to be some things like that just, excuse me, as we go through the process, the numbers will start to get more in line with the goals.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Sorry, lost my voice.
I just want to echo.
One quick question, Jason.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Jason, I just wanted to express your work with the Fort Washington Tantalian community is to be admired, and I would encourage you to continue to work with them as we work through their concerns and build a fantastic school in the Fort Washington community. I guess I don't have a question. I just wanted to make that statement and commend you for your efforts in that regard.
Well, thank you, sir.
I actually want to echo Chair Hawkins as well, and Ms. Berry Wilson. One, Chair Hawkins, for the continued communication with the Southern KA community. While we know some of those residents are not pleased with the way that we have moved forward, I appreciate the openness and ability to have conversations to make sure that there's clarity and transparency about always next steps. And then second, to just say thank you for all the hard work around MBE and CBB. And Gilbane and Fingate's commitment to the community and minority businesses that we've come out of the gate showing that was a priority and will continue to remain a priority. So thank you for that. So I know that we're only 10 months into this program. It seems like it's been longer, but it's not. Well, what are some of the lessons learned thus far?
And so, Brandy, I'll let you start this one, ma'am.
Sorry, I was having problems with my mute button. I think more than anything, one of the biggest lessons learned, and we just spoke upon it, was really in regards to the Southern K through 8, the communication that we, that unfortunately the community did not feel that they received. And that is true, the lack of communication that was there or that was not there. That's definitely a lesson learned for all of us, to be certain that we involve the community at the forefront of this project and be sure to basically let the community know, have their time to share the information that they want to share or share their opinions in regards to what's going on and what's to come.
Yeah. I would say that another big lesson learned for us being PGCPS is recognizing the capacity and the need and the commitment that is required of us. The Gilbane and the Fingate and Stantec team, they have mobilized around our intention of delivering these schools quickly. And I think we had a little whiplash at first of like, oh, this is really quickly, and the need to match that. We've gotten there, but it definitely took some growing pains earlier in the process. But that's the biggest lesson learned for us, is to make sure that we continue to match the intensity and the drive that we have seen from the development team to this point, and we continue that. And I also would tip my hat to Sean Matlock and his team, because they have come in and supported us. and provided staff and provided time to help get this process off the ground and this program moving. So that's the biggest lesson is making sure that, you know, we are equipped to move aggressively and to just push through and to deliver. And we've gotten there. And so, you know, that's been the wake up call, I think, for all of us on specifically on the school side as it relates to, you know, reviewing and capacity, et cetera.
And I'll throw one other item out there, which is the partnership, because truly everybody's approached this with a common goal and the importance of the mission. And we truly are working together as a partner. So there are no secrets between, you know, Jason's team and Brandy's team and our team and the design team. Everybody's collaborative. We're talking, we're working, and full communication. So I think a lesson learned for ongoing projects is to make sure you have that partnership in place. And all of us will remain a partner throughout this operation. So otherwise we won't succeed.
Not just in regards to our teams as far as partnership is concerned, but also too, just from Prince George's County overall. While the schools team has been incredible as far as the partnership is concerned, we've also had other agencies that have been involved in this process, including DPI. And so the work of DPI and even the work of DPWT as they start to prepare for the work that is to take place down in the southern K-8 community, you know, those the involvement of those particular agencies has been so very helpful throughout this whole entire process. And we continue, or we hope that they continue to remain involved.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, because when I talk about that partnership, they are a key player and they have met every one of our deadlines so far. So I don't know if you talk to other partners in the county government, but they need an applause for how well they've been working on the team.
This is Chair Hawkins. You all spoke about one of the lessons learned is communication. And I would encourage you, Jason, to continue to do what you're doing up in the southern, up in the Tantalian, Fort Washington area, keeping open dialogue and consistent, regular communication. Even though we are past one phase, their discontent and unrest up there has been addressed because of your constant communications. And you need to continue to do that. And it needs to be individuals like you who are sensitive to their concerns and continue to work with the county as we work to move through there. But again, you've been phenomenal with your execution and response to them.
Thank you. I didn't have any more questions.
Yeah, I did have one more question, Dr. Golson. So, you know, as you can imagine, the county executive has, you know, applauded and is excited about what we're doing under the alternative construction program, particularly around not just new schools, but the impact that it's going to have on the county overall, whether it's economic development and community development as well. But one of the things I know that has been briefly mentioned, but would like more information about, is the community asset program. Kind of, what does that look like? What does that entail? What is the duration? Is it only during the construction phase? Is it something that's going to happen post-construction? Can you just give us a little bit more details around that?
So the community asset program, we basically stole it from Fingate's proposal. So this was what they proposed as part of the plan of building partnership, and it fit with what we wanted to do. So it's a few priorities. One, it was the contribution to the scholarship fund for the Prince George's County Public Schools students of $1 million. The second piece of it was the development of the mentor protege program. It's 8 weeks. It will be offered multiple times, and that's led by Gil Bain, but has been developed by Eben Smith, Yvette Stevens, who is Director, I believe, of Equity and Inclusion for Gilbane, and Mr. Michael Burke. It's very similar to, they schooled us very early on in, how these type of programs can have an impact. And the impact is that there is the opportunity to bid on work. So it's not, we're not calling folks and telling them what they should do and then good luck. It's that, we are preparing and helping them to see what are the opportunities and the potential for not just the P3, but also for PGCPS and the procurement. The other piece of this has been internships and externships that started this summer. There were interns at Gilbane and at Stantec, and I believe at a few of the other subs. And that was part of one of the community newsletters of those students and their internships. One of the things that PGCPS is trying to do through their CTE, through our CTE program, is allow for students to participate as early as 16 and 17 in the trades, and to see that, this is a path forward. One of the complications, quite honestly, is insurance. And a lot of the construction companies, their insurance will not allow students under 18 to participate. So once we figure out that process, that may be another route that's possible for some of our older students. And then one of the other pieces of the community asset program that we have just now started to roll out is at each of the project planning committees. Each school has an initial budget of $10,000 to begin creating a community asset, what that could look like. So for instance, some schools have mentioned, getting mobile lights to put on the fields because none of the middle school fields have lights. Some of the other schools have talked about greenhouses and using that to support programming that happens in the community. It's really around making sure each school has the character of those communities, not the character that Jason, Brandy, and Mike Ricketts thinks that it should have. And so it should incorporate those communities. One thing that community asset program won't have is something that we're going to do, and mimicking off of the county executive and the county, is actually a mural program. So each of the schools have placements or have places within the schools for murals. And we're going to probably early spring issue an RFP for professional artists to provide a mural for each of the schools. So it's a uniformed process. Each school will have one reflective of their communities. It's a process that we think will also go a long way in individualizing the schools. And so when we talk about the community asset program, while it will probably be most visible during the construction, we expect residual impact throughout the program. And one of the keys to this is a lot of the businesses that are in the Mentor Protege program now can participate in the maintenance of these buildings. So a few of them are cleaning companies or lock companies or things of that sort that may be in a position to procure with Honeywell for long-term maintenance opportunities on these 6 schools. And so that is, when we talk about the community asset program, that is the bundle of which all of that is contained.
Thank you.
Hey, Jason, where did the $10,000 of school number come from?
It came from just the proposal, and we have made it clear to each of the schools that that is the budget, the initial budget, but we want to see what they come back with. But that's where it started. It started as part of the package and the pricing of the program.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions at this time? All right, this would be the time for public comments. There were 2 Public comments, however, the participants did not show for the meeting. So I will turn the meeting back over to you, Dr. Golson, for closing statements.
Thank you so much to Ms. McDonald, Mr. Ricketts, and Mr. Washington for answering our questions and providing the update for the third quarter. We appreciate the complete comprehensive report that I'm sure will be posted on the PGCPS website soon and answering our questions. And since there are no more questions, we would like to adjourn today's meeting.
So moved.
Madam Chair, second.
Right. Thank you. I think this concludes our meeting.
Thanks,
Good
everyone.
night, everybody. All right, thank you.
Good night.
Bye. Good.
Bye-bye.